Welcome to Mindful Chatting. Can I tell you one of the biggest lies that I used to believe? That if something was really important, I would remember it. Well, spoiler alert, I didn't. And not because I didn't care, not because I wasn't trying, but because my brain was juggling hundreds of little promises that I made to myself every single day. Pick up that prescription, email that parent, take the chicken out of the freezer for dinner, schedule the dentist appointment, call the pharmacy, buy the birthday candles, follow up with that client, remember that podcast idea. And every one of those thoughts came with the absolute same message: don't forget. But the problem? Well, my brain wasn't built to hold all of those open loops, and neither is yours. And once I stopped expecting it to, everything just got so much easier for myself. And today, I want to show you the most underrated ADHD tool on your phone. And more importantly, the mindset shift that made it work. And we're going to do it together.
Welcome to Mindful Chatting, a podcast where therapy meets real life. I'm Kristen, a therapist, business owner, and a lifelong student of what it means to fully show up in our relationships, in our work, and in our healing. Here, we unpack mental health concepts, explore mindfulness tools, and talk through the messy, beautiful, in-between moments that shape us. Whether you're a fellow clinician, a curious listener, or someone navigating your own growth, this space is for you. Let's chat.
So first, I want you to imagine your brain like it's covered with sticky notes. And one sticky note will say, buy the dog food. The other one will say, respond to that email. And then another one will say, make that doctor's appointment. And don't forget about the one over in the corner saying, don't forget about signing that permission slip. Every sticky note takes up your time and attention. And not because you're actively thinking about that sticky note every second, but because your brain knows that it still exists. And psychologists sometimes call these like open loops or reference the Zarnik effect, our tendency to remember unfinished tasks more than our completed ones. And for ADHD brains, those open loops can become especially noisy because it's harder to consistently retrieve and organize those ideas. So, the more your brain is trying to remember something, the less energy it has available to think in the present moment. So, one day I realized something, that my reminders weren't failing because I forgot to set them, but they were failing because I only used them for appointments. And meanwhile, my brain was still trying to remember everything else that I had going on in my life. So I made this one rule to myself: if it takes less than 10 seconds to create a reminder, I don't try to remember it. I immediately get it out of my head. And this changed how I viewed tasks and energy and ideas so much differently. So I want to give you a real example of what this might look like. So I have some reminders that I use in my Apple phone, and I have an Apple phone, but I'm sure there are other types of apps that use reminders. But in Apple, you can set a reminder. So, for example, if I need to buy sourdough flour, let's say, I'm going to put that reminder, but you can also categorize those reminders. And so I may put it under my grocery list, or I may also say that I need to rotate my starter for my sourdough loaf. Well, I'm also going to put that in my to-do list, not necessarily my grocery list. And then maybe I remember that I have to finish this unfinished internship paperwork. Well, I'm going to categorize that into maybe a school list. Or maybe I need to call my insurance company. And so maybe I might put that on my to-do list. So as you can kind of see, categorizing your reminders in your to-do list on your reminders app is super important of how to organize these thoughts as they come through. And it's kind of ordinary when you think about it because you're going to be thinking about all of these thoughts all the time. But how are you organizing them? Not just necessarily in your head, but organizing them within your life. And that's where this reminders app kind of gets a little magical, because you can set these reminders to go off at certain times of the day. Or if you're pulling up and having this uninterrupted time and you're like, I only want to work on work tasks, you can pull up reminders for those specific tasks only without seeing all the other to-do list tasks on your reminders app. Another thing you can do is add times and dates to them so that they'll show up on your iCloud calendar in Apple, which has saved me millions because there are some times where I'll make all these reminders, especially with work, but if I don't actually schedule time to do them or when I want them to show up, I will not go into my reminders app. So, a majority of the time, I'm going into my reminders app to dump information, but I'm having it on the back end show up when I really need it. And I think that's the most magical part of reminders is because with ADHD brains, if it's not visually there, with our object permanence, we're going to forget about it. So I think the most important thing with reminders is not just dumping your ideas in it, but setting your future self up to have them presently remind you. So like when you open up your calendar or making a particular list. And I think what's also really cool when you use time and dates for your reminders and you color code the list, so you can see on your iCloud calendar what list or what thing they belong to. So it's also another way of kind of shifting your energy of like, if I have this uninterrupted time, I'm only going to work on this one thing. So I'm only going to look for things in red, let's say. So it's another way of kind of using time blocking and color coding in a different way for your head.
If you want to understand your ADHD in a deeper way, I've created the ADHD Crash Course, and it walks you through ADHD step by step so that you can actually start understanding your brain and not shaming it. Everything's in small, doable lessons designed for your ADHD in mind. The link is in the show notes. If you're listening to this and thinking, this is exactly what I struggle with, I want you to know that I built something specifically for you. The EF, or Executive Functioning Activation course, walks you through why task initiation feels so hard with your ADHD and how to actually get yourself moving without shame, pressure, or burnout. It's short, practical, and designed for ADHD brains, not productivity culture. If starting is your biggest barrier, this course gives you structure, language, and tools that actually work for you. You'll find the link in the show notes.
So I kind of want to go over a little bit more about how the system is used on a daily basis for me and kind of going it over in steps. So step one is capturing the idea. So the second I think of something, I don't trust my memory. That is the biggest thing. I capture it, and capturing it usually is like saying, hey Siri, or hey Google, or hey Alexa, or whatever it is that the system that you use on your phone, and having it say, remind me to, and then dump it in there. Now, it's really important to put times, like I said, and dates on these particular things, or they're just going to die within that app. And then, but done. You've done the first step, is which capturing the information, which is sometimes usually the hardest part. The second step is deciding. So, does this reminder need to be done today, tomorrow, next month, at a specific location? It doesn't need to be a reoccurring reminder. I don't want you to overthink this. I just want you to make a decision about the timing of this particular reminder. Now, you don't need to go into your schedule and go, well, I have some time on Saturday, so I guess I'll throw it in there. No, I just want you to go, I'm going to throw it in the next time that I know I have uninterrupted time, like maybe a day off, depending on the type of task that you're doing, or maybe the next time you show up to your office. I don't want you to think too much ahead because you're ultimately going to plan and calendar a lot of these reminders in a different way later on. But I just want you to capture these ideas. Step 3 is your schedule. So I want you to put it where your future self is going to see it, or it will die in your reminders app. So this is going to be time-based, date-based, like I was saying. And one of my favorites is location-based, because for example, if I want you to remind me to buy dog food when I go to Costco, or remind me to bring paperwork when I leave the house, now the reminder appears when it's useful, or it'll pop up on your phone. So it's not just something that when you happen to remember it, it's tied to something. And this leads into step 4, which is the trigger. This is the part that I think many people skip. Your reminder should show up at the moment that you can act on it, not randomly at 9 a.m. if you can't actually do the task until 5 p.m. You need to design reminders around your real life. So sometimes you can snooze things and push it off. That's why I kind of like it how reminders kind of show up in your calendar to go, oh, I can look at it and maybe I had it scheduled for just whenever I can do it that day, but then maybe I'm moving it to 1 p.m. after I look at my calendar and I see that I actually have some free time. And then the last step, which is trust. And this might be the hardest one for you, but it's in the system. You need to let it go. You need to let the idea and the reminder go once you put it in there. You need to stop rehearsing it in your head. Trust that your system will bring it back to you when you need it. And that trust takes a lot of practice and takes a lot of experimenting, but it's incredibly freeing once you create a system and a practice that really works for your life. I think one of the biggest changes that I've noticed using this isn't that I'm suddenly remembering more. It's that I actually worry less. I don't spend the day mentally repeating things to myself because I know they're already somewhere safe and they're going to notify me when I'm ready for them. And that frees up so much mental energy for the things that I actually want to think about, which is my family and my clients and my creativity and the projects that I'm actually really excited about. And so, in a way, I'm actually giving myself my time back.
Okay, quick pause. Because you've ever found yourself rewinding this episode like 3 times because your brain just drifted, this is for you. I hear this all the time. I can focus, just not when I actually need to. And that's exactly what the focus course is about. Because here's the truth. ADHD isn't a lack of attention, it's a regulation issue, which is why some days you're locked in for hours and other days you're rereading the same sentence, wondering what just happened. So inside my executive functioning focus course, I break this down in a way that actually makes sense for you. We go through how your attention works in your brain, your specific focus patterns, why you get distracted externally and internally, and how to actually build a system that helps you stay on track and come back when you drift. Because the goal isn't perfect focus, it's knowing how to return without spiraling. So if you're tired of blaming yourself and you just want something that actually works with your brain, I'll link the focus course in the show notes. All right, let's get back to this episode.
So I want to remind you that this isn't about Apple reminders, even though that's what I personally use. This episode isn't about that. It's about whatever works for you, whatever app there is. So that could be Google Tasks, that could be Todoist, that could be Microsoft To Do, it could be just a physical notebook, it could be sticky notes. The app isn't the solution. The habit and the system that we're trying to create is. And that real shift is giving yourself permission to stop carrying everything in your head. So, my challenge for you this week is every time you catch yourself thinking, I need to remember that, I want you to pause. Don't repeat it to yourself. Don't hope that you'll remember it later. I want you to just take the 10 seconds it takes to put it into your reminders system. Then just notice how much quieter your mind feels after you know it's safely put into it. If there's one thing I hope that you remember from today's episode is you don't earn extra points for remembering everything in your life. You deserve systems that support the way your brain actually works. Your brain doesn't need to become a better storage unit. It needs permission to become what it already does best, which is creating, connecting, and imagining. So let the Reminders app remind you and remember for you, and let your brain actually think and create. I want to thank you for joining me, and as always, be gentle with your mind.
One more thing before you go, and this helps me personally, staying present and grounded, which we all need, especially when your brain wants to spiral into disconnection. Me too. It's Brain FM. It's musically designed to help ADHD brains, well, really anyone's brain, focus, relax, or sleep, and I use it almost daily. If you want to try it, I've dropped my link in the show notes. And if you're looking for planning tools or ADHD-friendly resources, I'll keep a list of my favorite links in every episode.